Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It is Marvin speaking. We're going to get into a video in a moment, which is the process of an investigation, a criminal investigation. And my title is Documentaries versus a Criminal Case in the Jay Slater case. And some of the thoughts I have, especially listening to Duncan lately, because like I said, we don't know who's actually going to turn up at the court as the witnesses. We know that Debbie definitely wants to question Rocky, which I don't think won't be there. But I'm hoping Ayup possibly maybe on a video link, should I say, rather than in person. It'd be great to have him in person because I think you could see his body languages, and I think he wouldn't be very good under pressure, to be honest with you. But we've got to look at what if they don't actually turn up? Will the coroner basically adjourn it again, and look basically for arrest to find these people, or will it go straight to the family pushing for it to go to a criminal court and get these people arrested and interviewed? That's a massive possibility as well. But like I said, it's up to the coroner, and it's up to the family how much they push as well. Really what they want from this case. I think we're going to find out either way how far they want to push it. But for me, them not turning up the first time because, like I said, some of them said they didn't get letters. It said he didn't get letters. I think Rocky said the same. I think Lucy was away. I think Brad said that he'd already booked a holiday, but there was so many excuses. Not one of them had turned up. And then we got Josh Forshaw, who nobody knows. We don't even know whether he was on the same plane as Jay flying out there. And we don't really know how deep their friendship was during they just met, and why would Jay basically share a lot of information about Ruggs and that he believed that his life is being marked. Just doesn't make sense to me. You would have thought that he'd be saying that to sending messages to Brad, Brandon, and Lucy, who we knew a hell of a lot more than Josh. So that didn't make sense. But we're going to look into this video anyway. And like I said, because like I said, obviously we've got Sluggy and Chris making a video on basically Jay's disappearance as an accident at Channel 4. And we had MWT's podcast, who may even still come out with a video. We've got the family who making a video as well. But where do we stand now? Because these documentaries cannot come out and then after there's a criminal investigation, which may tell us a completely different stories that these people are lying. Let's get straight into it anyway.
Investigative process, policy, and procedure development. Evidence can be highly sensitive, whether related to malicious activity, criminal conspiracy, or the intent to commit a crime. Cybersecurity professionals understand the value of this information and respect the fact that it can be easily compromised. That is why it is critical to establish and follow strict guidelines and procedures for activities related to forensic investigations. Such procedures can include detailed instructions about when forensics investigators are authorized to recover potential evidence, how to properly prepare systems for evidence retrieval, where to store evidence, and how to document these activities to help ensure the authenticity of the data. Before any investigation, proper steps must be taken to determine the details of the case at hand and understand all permissible investigative actions about the case. These steps involve reading case briefs, understanding warrants and authorizations, and obtaining any permission needed for pursuing the case. Evidence assessment. A key component of the investigative process involves the assessment of potential evidence. Central to effective evidence processing is a clear understanding of the case details, and thus the classification of the crime in question. The investigator must then determine the source and integrity of such data before entering it into evidence. Evidence acquisition. Perhaps the most critical facet of a successful forensic investigation is a rigorous, detailed plan for acquiring evidence. Extensive documentation is needed before, during, and after the acquisition process. Detailed information must be recorded and preserved. This step is where policies related to preserving the integrity of potential evidence are most applicable.
I just want to say why this case, I think it's so bizarre as well, because the investigations by the Guardia Civil, basically in Tenerife, wasn't great and it wasn't thorough. And I've mentioned it before. I do think they knew that this case was rug related and there were gangs running around dealing, taking rugs. And I think, obviously, due to the club reopening, Papagayos, and spending a lot of money as well, and obviously Jay collapsing in there, they didn't want that to be on their premises. And I think if this happened in England, a lot of these people that are involved in covering up Jay's death would, one, have been arrested. Two, this would have long gone through a criminal court, and a lot of them were probably doing time for perverting the course of justice and murder charges. I honestly do think that. The problem we've got, and a lot of people have said at the end of the day, is number one, is that the phone messages and obviously communication with Jay is very, very important, and the timelines as well. And I wonder whether they can be retrieved. Many people said they would be able to be retrieved from the police, UK police, which is absolutely brilliant. I think that is very, very important. And I think, number two, all their phones should have been retrieved, and I think arrests should have been made, especially with A up there. And why did he have to go back to do a second statement some months later when he had a chance to think about it and talk to a lawyer as well? That never made sense. Another one, why wasn't the Airbnb searched correctly? That never actually made any sense to me at the end of the day. And why wasn't it, blue taped or, red taped to say, look, I said, no one can actually go in there because we need to do forensic. That didn't add up to me. It really, really didn't add up. No CCTV anywhere to be seen Jay in Masca. Which is bizarre. And I think if this case was in England or it's going to be reopened in a criminal court, I think there's so many flaws, and I think there's so many people lying in this case that it wouldn't be too long before people are actually caught out, like Lucy, Brad, Brandon, and Ayups and Rocky, who I don't think was ever there, and he's covering for somebody else.
General guidelines for preserving should be taken into importance. Acquiring evidence must be accomplished in a manner both deliberate and legal. Documenting and authenticating the chain of evidence is crucial when pursuing a court case.
Just what you said.
Documenting and reporting. In addition to fully documenting information, forensic investigators must keep an accurate record of all activity related to the investigation, including all methods used for testing system functionality and all actions taken to acquire, examine, and assess the evidence. This demonstrates how the integrity of user data has been preserved. Still, it also ensures proper policies and procedures have been adhered to by all parties, as the entire process aims to acquire data that can be presented as evidence in a court of law. An investigator's failure to accurately document the process could compromise the validity of that evidence, and ultimately, the case itself. For forensic investigators, all actions related to a particular case should be accounted and saved correctly, as this will help ensure the authenticity of any findings by allowing these experts to show exactly when, where, and how evidence was recovered. It also allows experts to confirm the validity of evidence by matching the investigator's digitally recorded documentation to dates and times when potential suspects access this data via external sources. Now more than ever, experts in this critical role are helping government and law enforcement agencies, corporations, and private entities prove their ability to investigate various criminal activities.
That was Financial Crime Academy, and there were some really, really good points there. I do think the early parts of the Jay Slater case was kind of crucial. I think the club CCTV, if we would have been able to see that, that would have told us everything a lot in this case, a good 50-60% of what we needed to know, that Jay's condition was very bad and that he was probably unconscious or nearly unconscious at that time and deteriorating. And that was one of the reasons why I think they took him back to an apartment to see whether they could revive him. And like I said, if he had been hurt, tabbed, or basically punctured with something or another drug to keep him knocked out or unconscious, that would have basically explained to us a lot. But CCTV was crucial in this case because, like I said, we were absolutely blinded into what was going on, and anybody could have said anything in this case, which they did and wanted us to believe, especially Lucy, especially Ayub, especially Brad, and even Brandon talking on MWT's podcast. But to say, come out and to say it was an accident, and then we have videos, documentaries already probably made and waiting to be aired to say, let's get this out of the way as an accident. But obviously the thing is now, if nobody turns up, none of these witnesses turn up, this is just going to be so much of a red flag and a hole that no one expected this to go this far. And I do think this is why they're absolutely shitting themselves in basically thinking, oh my God, what we actually going into. And like I said, they are going into the lion's den because I think the family are very, very well prepared. And I think all of the basically questions that we would love the coroner to sort of be versed on in this case, I'm sure he'll be up to date and he's got enough time to read everything that has been sent by Duncan, myself and Ali Harris, and many of the other sleuths who want questions to be asked by the coroner and the family. It should be really, really interesting. But like I said, don't be surprised, people, if this case does turn criminal, because like I said, the witnesses haven't turned up. And maybe they won't even turn up to a third time until they're actually arrested and summoned by police to attend court. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me. I think at the moment it's 50-50, depending who turns up at court. But like I said, I think a lot of them now are under serious pressure. Let me know what you think, people, whether this case will get criminal, and who do you honestly think that will turn up at court or be on a video link. I would love to know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment and follow the channel. Appreciate you all. Thank you.